we feel this deep sense of edification whenever we come on and log on. It's a bit like one of those very plush chairs that they used to have in Borders. They've taken it out and they've put like prison chairs. But once upon a time in Borders, Wheelock Center, they had really, really comfortable chairs. And I mean comfortable. Comfortable in the sense that the armrest was about the size of an ear of an elephant, and they had real springs, which is a rarity these days. And that's exactly how the internet feels whenever I'm having a conversation with you, or whenever someone writes to me. I have this feeling that I'm speaking to people who I don't need to explain or for that matter justify why I think the things I do and why I'm the way I am. You could even say that I'm in the company of freaks. But you know, it's freaky only because we assume that if someone is freakish, let's say, if there's such a thing as a freaky person, he is in the company of freaks. And so it stands to reason. I mean, if you know, everybody has 6 fingers and you go to a 6-finger convention, you know, I mean, a guy that comes up with 5 fingers, he'll be the odd one out. He will be the freak. And the freak basically normalizes. He normalizes and goes through a process whereby he defreaks himself. But this can only be done basically by recruiting your imagination. And this is something that we do continuously without us knowing. Whenever we log on, or for that matter, write or read or laugh or feel that sense of deep validation that just says, I was just about to write the same thing. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. There they go again. I mean, it's always like that, isn't it? You know, that kind of feeling. It's a feeling that comes from people who feel validated. And it's something that is very, very, very natural. Because as human beings, we want to be accepted. As human beings, we fear alienation. And we don't want to be the guy that rocks the boat. We don't want to be the person that lets the side down, as the British would say during the colonial days. We don't want all these things because we have been conditioned in group behavior from a very young age to realize that it doesn't pay to go against the grain. We do not rock the boat. And that simply means one thing, that we basically relegate our self to the greater we. The I gives way to the we. The individual gives way to basically the crowd. The whole idea of a person who's able to retain and protect that space in between his head, that virtual space called the mind. That concept melts away. It disappears into oblivion. It disappears into oblivion for one reason, because when your actions or your thought processes, or for that matter even the way you may feel at 9 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, if there's such a thing, probably not, but let's say there's such a thing, and you have to ask yourself, is that such a good thing? I guess what I'm trying to say here is that it's not a matter of whether you should trust what you read in the internet. I'm not going to end this by saying that you should basically research, filter, and verify what you read in the internet, because there could be some lies there. Because I could just as well use that statement, only I'll take out the internet and replace it with, let's say, newspaper, and basically it would sound just as sensible. as my first assertion. The thing is that we get conditioned, and this is something that we need to be very aware of. And I think that's what I need to convey to you, and it's something that you need to think about. Because this whole idea that we can actually be ourselves, or we can somehow be one island that is infested with sharks of our own making, is basically a pie in the sky. I mean, that's possible, let's say, if you happen to live in a country like America, where if you don't like the face of your neighbor, or you feel that the rat race has reached a certain point on your doorstep, you can just head to the mountains in Montana, Utah. There's loads of land there to get lost. I mean, you could go to a place in America and find a town called Lost and get lost in it, and truly so lost that nobody could find you, not even the town called Lost, not on Google Map at least. I mean, all these things you can do in America, but in Singapore, because of the space and because of how space imposes upon us a way of thinking, a way of behaving, a way of even being ourselves. That is to say that it will modulate our points of views, and it will add texture and contour to the whole idea of what I refer to as character. And small, coming from a small country, we have to think small. And small, if you put it in a microscope, an electron microscope, and you look at it at a deeper level, only means one thing: we don't have a choice but to be social animals. We need to cooperate. And that is why if you look at Singapore, you find that our society is one whereby we have this need to cooperate. This need to cooperate, if you take it one step further, means that sometimes when we hear things that appeals to our sensibilities, we may not be able to voice them out. We are refrained from voicing those sentiments out because we fear rejection from the group. We fear the whole idea of being sent to Coventry. We fear them shunning us. We fear them labeling us as freaks. And so in a sense, this is a condition that we're in. But the thing that actually gives the internet such an appeal to people like us is that we can fulfill that deep-seated yearning to say the things that we want to say but cannot say in the public realm. And the internet can provide you with a cloak, very much in the way you would go to a masked ball. And a masked ball basically is a place of great intrigue, and the whole idea came up during the reign of the Sun King, Louis, who once occupied Versailles. And the reason why you have the Hall of Mirrors is because to make the whole idea of recognizing and making out people, many of these people have very bad vision, so they actually ask their consorts to look out for them. And that's why you have the Hall of Mirrors, but that is another story by itself. Let me just come back to the whole point. Now, the whole point is simply this: the internet supplies that set background, that period ambience, that ability to hide yourself, the guarantee of anonymity. You are completely anonymous in the internet. Whether that idea is real or imagined does not matter. Whether a satellite is like pointing at your postcode right now and zooming in directly into this video feed at this second right now when I go like that does not matter. My point that I'm trying to convey to you is that the internet validates us. It validates us by allowing us not only to express the things that we cannot express, But because it provides that community fellowship and ability to mix with the people who share that same island in our minds, we feel a deep sense of edification. Not deep in just a simple sense, but deep in a complex sense that may even operate at different levels of understanding. And it's so deep that it is something that is very difficult for us to actually walk away from. It's difficult because when you get to see what's in the internet, and then, like I said, it's a vampire thing, but when you get to see what's in the internet and you flow along the Gulf Stream of that consciousness, that digital Gulf Stream where there are hundreds of thoughts coming in every second, and all of them are being verbalized in post comments, blogs, and 99.9% of the stuff that is really, really, really good are usually found in sites that nobody knows of. But you're immersing yourself in this sea of consciousness, immersing yourself in this state of collective consciousness. And the most important thing is that all this is happening in real time.